Very much. Today, we're going to cover rate buy downs. We're also going to cover after that, we're going to do a short segment on that. I luckily have got one of my business partners who is my personal lender. He's here to educate, not to solicit, but he's my personal lender, the person I use all the time. Jake Lowe. He is from Waterstone Mortgage and has been a partner of mine for a year and a half, 2 years, and I have been blown away. And he is high energy. We're going to call Jake on in just a couple of seconds. We're going to dig into the ability of doing some buy downs, both buyer side and seller side. Now, think about this. If you're listing a property as opposed to reduction, maybe you want to consider a buy down rate. If you're a buyer, maybe you're offering full price and getting that getting that rate by having the seller contribute, which is where it has to come from. Again, we're going to cover that. We're also going to cover, what do you want? Second part of today is, what do you want? What does your business want from you? What do you have to accomplish? And then we're going to talk about some of my favorite things. We're going to talk about scheduling, some tips and tricks on how to make that work for you, as well as what I like to refer to as WOB time, which is working on your business, because every one of us is going to need to continue to move the needle. This is an evolving market. We are, as you all know, in a market that's seen some pretty interesting things happening to it. There's a ton of opportunity. Okay, doesn't seem like it, but you're going to have to lean into it a little more, put a little more effort into what you're doing, and probably be a little more on purpose. It's not just going to fall in your lap. It's like, oh my God, I want to buy a home. Somebody help me. We're going to have to start looking and also working well with them. Hence the reason we've got Jay on here. So that's what we're laying out for the morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm glad y'all are here. Let's get started. Jake, are you on the call, brother?
I'm right here, George. What's going on, man? And I want to apologize
to
everybody. I don't have my face on here. My voice was real froggy. I'm typically a little more high energy. I am down under the weather, but we'll get past that. Anyways, glad to be on here, George. I really appreciate the invite, man.
Well, my pleasure. No, so for all of you that don't know, the bottom line is he just didn't put his makeup on or do his hair. That's the reason he's not showing his face. His vanity kicked in. I'm just calling it out. I call him like I see him. So Jake, I'm working with a buyer.
Yep.
We see a bunch of homes. We can't really go to a certain height. We can, let's say 500,000. Let's just say that's the number that we want to stick with. But I see a home at like 540, 550, but I can only afford 500,000 based on my DTI. Is there anything we can do to work around that at this point?
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that, George. So a year ago at this time, I got buyer A. We'll call him Bob Jones. Bob Jones could afford a $560,000 house, predicated off his income and rates being at, 4.5, 4.25. You take that same house, same buyer, and put them at 6.5, that changes their payment $400 on $500,000. So $400 is a difference of about on 500 grand. It's about 8 points on DTI. That takes you well over the threshold.
Jake, one sec. DTI, debt to income.
Debt to income.
Debt to income, for those that aren't familiar with the acronyms.
That is the baseline on how we score a file, even before credit. Believe it or not, DTI changes so many different things. So that's how we max their pre-approval out. It changes their levels as far as their pre-approval levels. But the main thing is, so we saw this happening, and when I say we, the higher ups, they noticed that we're losing buyers in that same bracket. So there's three things you could do, and this is just what we have, and this is about all that we've heard in the market. I'm gonna say them real fast. You got the 2-1 buy down, and I'll go into that. 2, you have a portfolio loan, and I'll go into that. And thirdly, you can buy it down. We'll start with the 2-1, George. All right. It's called the 2-1 buy down. How this works is this. So it can only happen as a seller credit, and they're going to buy the rate down. It's the first year, it buys it down 2 points. Second year, buys it down 1 point. Okay. And it can only come as a seller credit because the credit doesn't count as a fee. And if a buyer tries to buy it, and if I'm going too fast, I'm not explaining, George, please make sure you let me know.
Hold you up, for sure.
Yeah, this is the pool I swim in every day. Sometimes I forget someone's not in the same pool. As if you guys were talking, I wouldn't know either. So if we get back to that, so the seller can contribute to the buy down. So on $500,000, it's going to buy the rate down 2 points the first year, 1 point the second year. And I apologize because I did answer this yesterday, and I answered it wrong. The DTI is affected, George, and that's the reason that we're doing it. Okay, to make the payment easier, and And
Well, hang tight, Jake. Let's
Okay.
make sure we qualify that. So if
Okay.
I'm borrowing money from a seller, or no, I'm getting a gift from a seller, I negotiate that as representing my buyer, the same buyer, buyer Bob, $500,000. We're buying a home, and I say there's a $500,000 offer or a $500,000 listing on the market. It's been on the market for 25 days. Get used to that. Y'all get used to that, okay? But that means there's a motivation. I
Yep.
could go to that seller and say, listen, I'm going to give you a full price offer, but I'm going to want 2%, 2 points, 2%. Is that right, Jake?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to want 2%, which is, anybody know what 2% of $500,000 is? I know I don't. Whatever that is, I think it's $10,000. I'm pretty sure of it. It's $10,000. There we go. I'm going to want.
Yes,
I'll give you a
it
full
is.
price offer, but I want $10,000 back.
Yep.
So the seller's super happy at this point. Now, Jake, I've got my 2% that's coming from the seller, and that conforms. Now, what happens to my loan? Because am I paying more for that? Am I paying less? Is it a benefit to me and my buyer to do that? Tell us about that.
And let me explain why it has to come from the seller. The mortgage company cannot charge more than 3% of the amount financed. So everybody go with me here. And if it does not, if you go over the 3%, and 3% is going to mean the lender fees, the points, so on and so forth. And if it's more than 3% of the loan amount, it doesn't qualify. So if the buyer is already paying points for their rate, it's going to be about $6 or $7 grand, and they're already paying a lender fee of $1,600 or $2,000. By the time you stack on the $12,000 or the $9,000 to buy the rate down 2 months, 2 points the first year and 1 point the second year, they go over the 3% cap. If the buyer buys those points down to 2-1, if it comes as a contribution, as a gift from a relative, or as a seller, it doesn't count as a fee.
So the
Now, does that make
relative can
sense?
also gift that too for a better rate.
Correct. It can come as a gift. A gift does not count as a fee. So if the points are charged, the gift supersedes that amount, and vice versa with the sellers. But if you contribute to the loan itself, it's considered fees because we have to charge you personally the fees. We pass the fees on to someone else when someone else gives it. Does that make sense?
Jake, question on that one. Can a
Yep.
buyer agent offer a credit, and does that count as a fee, or is that acceptable?
Buyer's agent, exact. Anything that comes from outside the file in will be good to go.
Okay.
If it doesn't come from an outside source and it comes from, and the buyer has to pay for it, it's considered a fee to him. That's probably the best way to explain it. Yep.
Okay. All right, good. So make sure I'm on the same page. For a recap, I can borrow, I can ask for that, negotiate for that, have the buy down. The buy down is 2 years or 2% first year, 1% the second year, and then the third year it goes back to the standard rate. Is that correct?
Correct. It'll go back to the prime rate at that time, not this time. And so that's a crapshoot.
It's a variable basically with a structured first 3 years, and then it becomes a variable. So the rate could be 15% 3 years from now. Is that right too?
Could be, but in 3 years, I think we're going to be, I'm going to be in refi heaven. I'm going to be.
I think so as well, but we have to make sure that we're disclosing
But
everything to
you
our
want to make
clients.
sure you
We don't want to.
exactly.
All right, real important features. Now, is that standard for almost all loans with any lender? The 2-1 buy down.
The 2-1 isn't really. I know Loan Depot. Well, Loan Depot's going out of business in November, but Loan Depot had it. Rocket Mortgage has it. We have it. I'll say 40% of the lenders. I'll just say 40%.
Okay. All right, terrific.
And I don't know who started it, but started catching on a little bit, like all the bigger names. Okay, yeah, we'll do that too. So that's kind of how it caught on.
So the next one, let's get to the portfolio last. Let's go to what is just a standard buy down. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
Yes. And I like that you put the portfolio in the back, because George, I'll be honest, that's our rate buster. That's the bread and butter of how you get their payment to drop and it lasts forever. Okay, so 2, they can buy points down. And guys, it's real important to understand, when I'm building a file, I'm sitting there talking with a customer, and we're going through the numbers and throwing out, you can put this down, that down. If you take $10,000 and put it down on a $500,000 loan, it changes your payment $25, maybe $30. Okay, that's it. But if you take $10,000 and buy the rate down, okay, that right there is going to swing the payment about $150. So your $10,000 can be used for something, but something else. So what I
Outstanding.
would do in this instance, because the buyer cannot buy points typically because we have to charge the customer that. So you would actually gift it from the outside to look like it's coming in from somewhere else. Go
This
with me.
goes back to the number or the amount of fees a buyer can actually carry to have a conforming loan, correct?
So, correct. So it would no longer be a QM loan. Qualified mortgage is what that stands for.
Okay.
Okay. It would fail QM and you wouldn't get clear to close. So, but the best way to say it's like this. So I'm trying to think so I don't get too wordy with it. Say you have a $200,000 loan and the rate's 6.5%, and it's 1.35 and it's 1.35% in points. So you have 1.35% of 200K is $3,300. Then you have, so you have $3,300 in points. Then you have your $1,600 fee. That's just our basic fee. I'm just saying that one right there. Okay. So $4,930. Those are your fees. Your fees cannot supersede 3% of 200K, which is 6K.
6,000. Yep.
Does this make sense?
Yep.
I can't charge you by whatever law that came about from 2008. We can't charge you more than $6,000. So you only have about $1,000 of wiggle room left. Because what you're going to need to do is you're going to have to pay down your points, pay those points off, the $4,900, and then buy the points down. So you're already going to be about $3,900 in the hole.
Why are there points on the loans right now? By the way, when points are on the loan, so let's say our loan rate is at 7%, just throwing a number out there.
Yep.
There's some points on there, and those points are fees charged if we adjust that rate in any way, shape, or form. Is that correct?
No, well, kind of. So a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when we linked up, we didn't charge points. So when I gave you a rate, it was at par. Or I mean, you're a customer. So say it was at 4.5%. You got 4.5% with no fee or points. All right. Now, and before the points were very minimal, they're probably 0.15, 0.25. So I was literally waiving it on all of EXP Realtors deals or referrals. I just taken the and I gotta give Dwayne Huddle a shout out. He's the owner. He said, don't charge them fees. Just take them right out of the file. It was only about $1,600, $1,500. That wasn't a big deal. Well, now because of inflation and the rates are going so high, the points on any loan is between 1.4 and 1.8 that we have to pay in order to lock that rate. Even because there really is no par anymore. Now that'll go away once hyperinflation goes away. George, does that make sense? Kind of.
It does. Explain what a point is, please. We had a great question come up, and I want to make sure we address
Perfect. So a point is when I tell you the rate, it's a percentage of the amount financed. Just as simple as that. Has nothing to do with the rate. The rate is not in the equation. Has nothing to do with that. So again, we'll just use $200,000 loan, just something simple. So $200,000 loan, the rate's 6.5. Again, it's just completely irrelevant. But the points are 1.15. So you take $200,000 times 1.15% is $2,300. That's what you're paying in order to obtain that rate of 6.5. Now, a year ago, the fee was only about $600. And again, Dwayne said, listen, don't charge those guys any fee. We'll just eat that. Well, now we can't eat $2,300 on all the loans. So it's just changed because of hyperinflation.
So a good conversation for us to have when we're talking to our buyers is what is your rate and what are your points on that rate? Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
It's very important.
Any lender will have to let us know that and let our clients know as well, I'm assuming.
Right. Right
Okay.
up front.
Good enough. Great. Thank you, Jake.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. So it sounds a little bit like the buy down right now has this padded cost associated because we have to pay off the points and then we start buying down. So we're literally paying up to, let's say it's 2 points, we're going to pay 2% before we even adjust the rate. Is that correct?
Yep. So, and George, I'll be honest, I put this option in the back of the line.
Okay. Me too.
This was too wordy. Again, I swim in this pool every day. I can just rattle this off. I know that as I'm talking, I'm probably losing a lot of people, not because this is complicated. This isn't a world that you live in. As if I sat and listened to you guys talk about, this or that, I'd be a little lost too. That's one I would put in the back burner, and I really wouldn't go to that one if I didn't have to, because I really have, this is my silver bullet, the last one, but this is the silver bullet that just wipes them all off the table. And that's the portfolio loan. Portfolio means we house it in-house. All right. So when you do a loan, when the lender does the loan, they sell off typically between 45 and 60% of their loans, and they service 40% in-house, and they keep them. This is one that we keep. So we have a portfolio, and for our particular office with the volume that we do, we have $10 million per month sitting in a little kitty, is what we call it. And this rate is at 1.5% less than par. So right off the rip, if the normal rate's 6.5, we're at 5%. Now, here's the kicker. It's a 5-year ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage. So it's adjustable mortgage. But guys, I'm telling you, I put my sister and brother-in-law in this, my best friend from college in this. This is what I'm doing right now to combat the high rates. 1.5 on 3 or 405,000 is $200 or $300. Guys, that's a lot, right? I mean, that's a ton. So
Jake, gotta
Yep.
ask a question. So I'm 4 years out. The
Yep.
rates have dropped down to 5%. I want to lock it in. Do I got any prepayment?
you can literally refinance a month later. Now, I get a charge. I'll be very honest. All lenders will say, no, there's prepayment penalties if you pay it off before 6 months. That's only because the lenders get charged back. That's a lie. You can close today and refinance tomorrow, and there's no penalties.
Okay. So
That's awesome.
so for our clients, if the rates get to a point where you want to lock it in at any time, they could say, let's lock in the rate and do a refi. Is that correct?
Yep, correct. Yep.
All right.
And the ARM is set up. It's like the gamble at Ashley's Furniture. They give you 0% interest for the first 12 months. You're thinking, oh man, I'll have this sucker paid off, in the first 12 months. Something always happens, and just the luck of the draw, or not the luck of the draw, just by pure numbers, there's a higher percentage. I want to say the number 63% of the people that sign up for 0% interest for the first year and thinking they're going to pay it off, don't. So all that interest at the end of the year one compounds back to payment one, and they have to pay all that interest back for the first year. So it's kind of like that with an ARM. They give it to you, they give you that low rate with the intention of you refinancing. Guess what? You just switch jobs. Now you don't qualify. You haven't been on the job for 2 years. I can go on and on and on. They're gambling on the fact that you are not going to refi. It's not going to be as high as Ashley Furniture paying it off in the first 12 months. But some people are not able to refi at 2 or 3 or 4 years when the rates do drop. Again, there's 1,000 scenarios. They got divorced from their wife, their DTI's off, whatever. I'm just going into it. So that's what that is, George.
Okay. It's important to know that, because if you're talking to your clients, you want to have that conversation. There's a way to do it. And you're going to have 5 years where it's a heck of a lot lower. And at any time you can lock in on a rate. For us, this is just agent to agent having a conversation. There's a risk factor in there. I don't even know if I would take that, if I'd be comfortable with the variables, although I do believe the rates are going to come down for sure. But we've got to give our clients the opportunity to have a conversation with our particular mortgage lender. And by the way, Jake is not the only person that does portfolio loans. Other lenders may. If you have a specific lender you're working with, of course, the idea is to educate you on practices that may affect your clients. But if not, I put Jake's information in there. He's a person I will stand behind him. If he screws up, I know where he lives. We can go beat him up.
Yeah.
He's pretty good at what he does, though.
And George, thank you for saying that, guys. Listen, we're not the only gig in town. And I'm sure a lot of you guys, I know there's 50 something, or whatever people want to call. There's other lenders out there, and some of them, half or a little less than half, have the same products. Make sure you're sped up on this. So this right here is the single this is you going from a $500,000 house and the rate being a point and a half cheaper on the portfolio, going to a $560,000 house. $60,000 difference. Now you got that nice house, because the HOA is $350, which took them out of the equation. Well, guess what? At a point and a half less, their payment went down $300. Now they qualify again, because HOA fees do count towards your DTI. So I can't tell you how many loans or pre-approvals I had to regress on or go back on because of HOA fees. This is my HOA buster, is what I call it, because that's what blows people out most of the time.
I love it. All right, let's open it up for some questions, Jake. I appreciate that. Give us an overview. Y'all have any questions for Jake one-on-one? Seriously, just take down his contact number, his information, his phone number, reach out to him. He'll get back to you. He's really good. Evelyn, yes, ma'am. You got the floor, dear.
Okay, if we could use some real example numbers, that would help me kind of get it in my head.
Okay.
So for the buy down, for the 2-1 that you mentioned, let's
Okay.
use $100,000 loan, 6.5%. Okay. So what is the cost of that, and how much would that rate drop per point?
That's a good question, Evan. And when we flew through it, again, George is unbelievably knowledgeable. So him and I talk, and kind of, we go back and forth on stuff. So no, when I told him, he picked it up before I finished my sentence. All right. So with that being said, when he said that, I thought there might be some questions. So 2%, 2 points. You take
Okay.
2 points on 100 grand, which is $2,000, and
Right.
then a 1 point, and it holds it back. And so you go, it's 2 points less the first year and 1 point less the second year. Does that make sense?
So it would drop to 4.5 the first year and
Yes, ma'am.
5.5
And
the
then-
second year?
Correct. And then it goes to 5.5 the second year. Then it goes to the standard par rate or point factor at that particular time when when it does come out of the adjustment part.
Okay, and then on the second option, using that same 2 points, which would be $2,000, that would drop that 6.5 rate to what then?
Now that's a different beast. All right. So put
Okay.
the first question over to the side. That, like I said,
Right.
That's in a
Right.
basket. So we're making Chinese food, we're making Greek food, and we're making Italian food. So
Yeah,
so put the Italian food back in the basket. Let's go to something different. So
Yes.
don't let these crossbreed or like intermingle. Does that kind of make sense? All right. So
Go
all right,
ahead.
so keep it separate. So part two is when you buy it down. If I have $100,000 loan, all
Right.
right, and that loan has 1.35% in points. All right.
Okay.
So that's $1,350, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before I can start buying the rate down, I have to first pay down the $1,350.
Got it.
Does that make sense? So once I pay off the points, then I'm at par, then I can start paying it down. That's a great question because we did fly through that, and I'd have been surprised if everybody hadn't picked up on that.
So,
Hey,
so
I
what
see
would,
Michelle
what
there.
would that,
Look
what
at
would that
Michelle.
rate then be on the second one now? So it would drop down by every point after that, or does it drop down by like 0.25%?
No. It goes down 2 points on the first rip, and then 1 point on the second year. Was that the
Oh,
question?
no, not that one, not that one. We already, like you said, we already put that one to the side. We're working on the second option.
Okay.
So the second option, the rate would drop down to what after you paid down the point?
Oh, well, it's always going to be different depending on the amount financed. So on 100K, you have your options. Okay. So on $100,000, if you want to buy down, if it's at 6.5%, we try to take it to 4.5.
Okay,
The points on that would be, so it'd be 2 points. So you'd have to buy it down $2,000 for 2 points.
wow, so $2,000 on that second option would actually drop the rate by a full 2 points.
Correct, because 100 grand is not much. I know in the scheme of
Right,
things, you
right.
think about, wow, 100 grand is a lot. In the mortgage world, when you throw it on an AM schedule and amortization schedule, $100,000 spread over 30 years is very minimal, like
Well, hold
next to nothing. It's
Jake,
funny
this is
in the
important. You're saying 1% buys down 1%, 1% buy down, meaning $1,000
on
on
100 grand,
100,000,
George, on 100 grand.
100 grand, and I put 1% or $1,000, 1% down.
Yeah.
I buy down the rate 1%.
Correct,
So 500,000, I could put $5,000 down and buy down the rate 1%.
correct. And
One full
$10,000,
percent, not a quarter.
yeah. correct.
So I could put down $30,000 legitimately and buy down the rate 6%. I know that's ridiculous, but what I'm getting at,
But then you
for
go over
every
to
percent,
QM.
it percent
Yep.
comes down.
For rough math purposes, yes.
Okay,
That's
cool.
the best way to
That's-
take it.
all right, good enough.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
option.
okay,
This
that
is where
really
obviously-
helps. Thank you.
Evelyn, for sure, get them with your lending partner and say, let's have a detailed conversation. And I would suggest probably being on the phone too for knowledge base and also for asking the right questions that perhaps they don't know about. But great questions, Evelyn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's see, Will, and then Michelle, I'll get to you in just a second, Ms. Berto.
Hey, George, I don't have a lot of experience with the 5-year adjustable rate mortgage. How does that adjustment occur? Like when you say adjustable rate, at what points is there an adjustment being made? Is it for 5 years? It's just kind of a flow on the rate, or how does that work?
All right, so there's typically, there might be some oddball 8-year arm or something. Again, I apologize. I have a frog in my throat that won't go away. You have a 5-year, a 7-year, or a 10-year arm. And what that means is that whatever I lock you in at today, at the end of 5 years, the rate adjusts to the current prime rate at that time. All right. or you have to wait, you do a 7-year arm or a 10-year arm. The most aggressive rates are always the short term. It's just like the most aggressive rates are short-term loans as opposed to 30 years. Does that make sense?
I
answer
get
your
it.
question?
Matt, do you get that, Will? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, so the adjustable rate is not 5 years of adjustable rates. It's at the end
No,
of 5 years, you
right.
get to adjust the rate to whatever.
Right. And then
And
you
remember-
picked up, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, you remember, you can lock in, because we had another question. Pierre brought this up too. What if the rates look like they're going up? Your client can lock in anytime,
Correct.
and that's important.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right.
Great.
Will, we good? Everything's straight? You good, bro? All right, awesome. Miss Berto, how are you? Good morning.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Great.
Hey, Michelle.
What's up, Jake? Okay, so full disclosure, this is gonna take the conversation away from the 2-1 buy down product, but I would love to get your input on this conversation. I have 2 clients right now that are scared to move forward because they don't know how they're going to balance an elongated selling timeline on their current home and feel comfortable purchasing the second new home. So can you help me figure out the product that I could be talking about? I don't know if that's a piggyback or I don't know. Help me.
All right. First of all, for everybody that's on here, Michelle's one, her and I just got through. And Michelle, if you can't figure this out, because you and I had a jigsaw puzzle that we put that loan together, that last one, the Jordan one. So the fact that you can't figure this out, I'm surprised, because you had all the ideas before I did halfway through this process. So it's funny, you always have these curveball loans, don't you? Curveball customers.
I think I attract them. Something's happening.
No, no, you're good. All right, so slow it down a little bit. Now, I was listening, but I wasn't. Exactly what's the scenario that they feel like that they are having a hard
Okay.
time grasping getting their current house under contract and then close it and then going and finding another house before they closed on the first one? Is that what you're thinking?
So I think the headline question is, how do I carry 2 mortgages in this new market where it's an unstable amount of time? How do is there something that is out there in the financial world that could help them make that leap so that they feel comfortable to purchase a house and then not have 2 mortgages to carry because they think that their current house is going to be difficult to sell? Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I took a long breath of sigh, because I really, all loans are built on DTI. Then your credit comes second. I know a lot of people have a hard time believing that. So when you have 2 mortgages, open mortgages, there's no way around that. That's the single biggest factor that made everything crash in 2008. That's why I say DTI is the most important. There's no way around them having 2 mortgages that aren't going to go against their debt load, and they're going to qualify for a lot less if they don't have a sales contract dated to close on or before the current contract closing. If it closes one day afterward, they debt them for that loan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
really,
So basically, I need to encourage them to list their current house to start the process, sell
and-
it,
yep,
be under
Yep.
contract at least before we start looking for the next house.
correct.
Unfortunately, that is not 100% accurate. I just put it in
Okay.
there. We're going into partnership with them, with our brokerage, with EXP. We are going into partnership with knock.com. The website is right there. It's KNOCK. Please look into it. It allows your buyer or your seller, excuse me, to make a purchase on a property, to buy that property with a cash offer purchased by Knock, and then do a refi after their home is sold. However, they must have a good credit score, which sounds like yours do, which is fine if they're buying. And they must have an equity position, because the house is going to become the assurance that it'll be taken care of. So they will be selling the property no matter what. Okay. But it's a great alternative for just this situation with your client doing this. Now, we're also partners with Curbio. Imagine having the entire thing straightened out. I'm working on it. I'll get you guys a good class on that one so we can talk exactly how that looks like, because 40% of your buyers are sellers. But that's an option for you as well. I would encourage everybody to get to know Knock. Definitely do some research in Workplace as well. And I say that for anybody that's with our brokerage, you know what I'm talking about. Here's some great tools for you. So that's the other option for you too.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. All right. Mateo, my favorite name in the world. His name on camera is Mateo the Extraordinary. How do you beat that? I mean, that's just bravo. Hit it, brother.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Yes, I had a couple of open houses this weekend. I don't know if you guys know, but here at the GPS group, we're big on open houses. So if you guys know, I work with New American Funding, which is a lender here in Central Florida, and I asked them especially about that program. So you can actually call your lender and tell him, I'm doing this open house. I have questions about this house. Can you tell me how much the payment will be on this house? So when I went to that open house, I have the 2-1 buy down program explained to me for that price point on that house. It was a $400,000 home that was for sale. And they explained to me, if they enter into this program, you can negotiate even with the seller a little bit of concession for this property. Your client, from a payment of $3,100, it will go on the first year $2,200 payment. It will be on the second year $2,500 payment, and on the third year it will be $2,800 payment. And then for the rest of the loan, they will have the interest rate that they lock on the first day of the on the year of the mortgage. So it's super interesting to have all those things, because the biggest complaint or that we're having an open houses or with our clients are interest rates, for sure. So make sure that you talk with your lender partner to explain you these kind of programs. And thank you very much, George, for having this conversation today, because it's really helpful. Yep.
Oh, well, my pleasure, Mateo. And it's actually Jake the one I want to thank. He's always said, what can I do? How can I pour back in and help everybody? Mateo, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And that's a great suggestion. Get with your lending partners. Y'all get the idea that our lending partners are partners in our success, because our success is their success. If you have a loyal relationship, I'm not implying that you need to be exclusive with just one person, but if you got somebody who's really got your back 24/7, who's right there with you, almost, I'm doing an open house. I really need some advice. What's a 2-1 look like? What's a portfolio 5-year ARM look like? So I can actually put this out there. Chances are they're going to be able to help you out. I mean, please don't do it at 10 o'clock when you need it by 10:15 on Saturday morning. Give them a little bit of time since it's the house. Let them do it for you. But they're working on your success too. Remember, I always say this, we're never alone. That includes our lending partner. That includes our title partners. It includes everybody that benefits from the success of what we do, which has caused a sale to go. And we're going to jump into right now the next part, which is, God, what a great segue. I should be my own straight guy, because we're going to talk about now what actually causes business to occur. Before we do, Jake Lowe, do me a favor, Joe, take Jake's info. Joe's on here. Tiff, take Joe's info, if you would, drop it on the bottom for me, please. So we have it. It's there. If you all want to reach out to him, have some questions, something else, give him about an hour. I think he needs a nap. He's literally sick as a dog, and he said, I'm going to do this because I'm committed. Jake, thank you very, very much.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. Again, this is not a plug for me, but that is my information. I'll answer 7 days, or kind of around the clock. If for some reason your guy can't get a hold of, just know you have a backup in your back pocket, because it's always good to have one. Or maybe I'll be third in line, but just put that on your tool belt and use that anytime. Okay, George, thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Jake. Feel better,
really
brother.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother. All right. God, it's nice having partners like that. I really appreciate it. And, he's not coming, seriously, that's not a solicitation from him. I promise you. He goes, I just want to share ideas. So let's talk about what you want. It's October 25th, 2023, because I start 2023, October 1st. Y'all be prepared that 90 days, if you're in activity for 90 days, if you start building momentum, you're going to see the results 90 days from now. There's some people I've spoken to. I'm not going to mention Karen Leday's name on camera because that'd be rude. That have said, I really want to focus on what I need to do. I want to talk a little bit about what you need to do to get what you want. And there's going to be no bones in this. So stick with me for just give me 5 minutes of your time. Let's just let this absorb into your brain for 5 minutes, kind of permeate through your body. It's going to take more work right now. It's not going to happen right away. You're going to have to be purposeful. You're going to have to say, what am I supposed to be doing? And am I doing it? I'm here to let you in on a little secret. It's totally understandable if you're not perfect. It's understandable if you say, I want to do this for 2 hours every single day, 5 days a week, and you only get to it 3 or 3.5 days a week. You know what? You're making progress. Reward yourself for good behavior. Nobody gets to beat anybody up here. You're doing the job well, but you're going to have to schedule it. Heard that from me before. You're going to have to plan it. You're going to have to say, this is my action plan, which supports my goals. If you got some questions on what that looks like, top left-hand corner of my screen is Coach Curtis. Maybe you reach out for a little consultation. I promise you, he's not as delicate as I am. Actually, he's much more. He's real friendly. You might want to consider grit. And I say that with do you know what saved? I'm going to tell this. This is just a story. Sorry, sidebar. I used to come from Keller Williams. You know what I know for sure? The Keller Williams came up with BOLD, which is how do we get our partners into production? How do we get them doing what they really don't want to do? How do we support them in their personal goals? Because ultimately, that's it. That's what we're here for. BOLD is the only reason Keller Williams continued to grow, and the Keller Williams went through it for the last just nightmare. It was because of BOLD, and BOLD basically propelled the agents at Keller Williams to get to where they wanted to go, to improve their business in a downward trending market. Curtis, in a minute or less, can you add a little bit of color to that? I think you and I talked about this previously.
Well, no, you're 100% correct, right? That program, not to talk about that, and yet that program was written in the last shift, and it was to get people into action, keep them into action. And again, as you just alluded to, propelled Keller Williams to continue to grow through that last market. Listen, forget all that. Grit was written for that very reason, but it was written specifically for you guys, and it is different from BOLD. You see, thank you, Claire. Claire says grit is bigger and better than BOLD. Thank you so much. That was the intention behind it. Listen, we were reached out to several times over the past, I don't know, started sometime last year about this time, before the market ever even changed. We were reached out to and said, hey, will you do something for us? And they kept asking and asking and asking. And then, well, we sat down, grinded it out, and actually put it together. So thank you, George, for bringing that up. I believe it's good for everyone. It will. Here's the other thing that it does, and I think we tend to forget this, because George, you were a team leader for a hot minute. I was a team leader for a hot minute. Here's the other thing, and we talk about this stuff all the time. It's good for attraction too.
Yeah.
Good for anytime you can invite people to stuff. Good for attraction, because here's what you get to say. Hey, look, this is the kind of stuff we do. Don't you want to do that on a regular basis? Just like this call. George, 97 people at the height of this phone call. Congratulations, my friend.
Oh,
I think I popped on weeks ago and there was maybe 40, 50, 97 people. So you can see that people are engaged. I love this. So anyway, that's it. I probably went over a minute.
That's all right. I appreciate it. All right. For the 80 of y'all that are still here, let's talk about your business and what's involved in it. Y'all have to know, what do I want? And I want you to go with a number, and the number is not gross income or GCI. The number is numbers of families helped. Now, on that topic, and I've got to say this because it almost slipped by me. When Curtis talking about it's a great way to attract, it absolutely is. But I want you all to change your mindset, because this is the bottom line truth. Pay close attention to what I'm saying. We have something extraordinarily unique that they don't have, and they have every right to it. This is open to every agent, because every agent has the right to thrive. I truly passionately and completely believe that you and all of you on this call have a better mousetrap, horrible choice of words, a better platform at which they can support their business growth and survive in a challenging market. It is not attraction. It is helping somebody who you genuinely like and respect. Keep that in mind. Our mission, my mission, is to help somebody get through this. I'm going to tell you a personal story, and then I promise I'll get on to it. Some of you may or may not know I got involved in REOs in 2007 and 8, Fannie Mae and a couple others. Anyway, I sold a lot of them. I mean, just an absolute ton of them. You know, the best part about the entire foreclosure business, now I'm selling like thousands of homes, 1,000 homes a year. Do you know the absolute best part? When it all ended around 2015, we had 25 families that made it through the worst recession. They were alive. Every one of them. Every one of them was a real estate agent. We had 4 grandkids, 3 children, 2 marriages, and 1 divorce, which unfortunately was mine, in that group. But these people made it. This is an environment that is going to put stress on everybody. Help somebody that needs the help. That's what Grit is for. That's what we are for. That's what these morning calls are for. Our mission, don't misunderstand me. The number one priority has to be you. I have to have you focus on your world because you deserve it and you deserve to get through this. And we're here to be the one standing with you. But if you've got some time or if you're struggling and you're not sure exactly what you're supposed to do, help somebody else. You'd be amazed how helping somebody helps you. And I hope you can take that on. And I'm sorry for me to get on my little soapbox. It's not a big one, it's just a little soapbox, but I'm passionate about that. So let's talk about you. I want to know how many units you want to close. I'd love for you to share that with me. I think you've shared that with Joe and Tiffany. It's important because we can deconstruct it going backwards. We talk about this on a regular basis, but do you know what your unit goal is? Forget the price point, your unit goal. Price point is not quantifiable. You can't say, oh, I'm just only going to sell $1 million homes. So somebody comes by with a $900,000 home, you're not going to sell it? Baloney. Of course you are. Units count. Price points are the byproduct of that. How many units do you want to sell? You got that number? Great. We're going to use, let's go an easy one. We'll use 10. You're going to need to do some work. And your numbers, if you went to the business planning clinic, which is being actually held right now as we speak in Fort Lauderdale, was held up here. We're going to do one. There's going to be a Zoom-based business planning clinic. Knowing that number will help you deconstruct what you're doing. And that's part of business planning. What do I have to do? Folks, if it is not on your schedule, chances are it doesn't exist because you're free-forming. You're working from entrepreneurial as opposed to purposeful. So if I were coaching you and I don't know, I said, Karen, let me see your schedule. And I see on your schedule that it's not consistent with what you want to do. I'm perfectly okay if you're not perfect, because none of us are. Stop trying to be. But you have to be purposeful. Guys, please, for the love of God, please, I need you to get through this with me. I need all of us, every one of us on this call, 3 years from now to go, that was awesome. Let's do it again. But you're going to have to put in the work. And I promise you, it's going to be more work than we put in just a little while ago. So just buckle up, sit down, get ready and do it. Okay. Because you don't have an option. You do. You actually have 2 options. One of the options is I'm just not going to stick my head in the sand. I'm not going to do the work. I'm not going to do what I have to do. And all of a sudden the world passes by. I've got 3 months go by. I haven't done a god darn thing. And I'm whining about the fact that nothing's coming in because you haven't done anything. If it's not on your schedule, it's not going to happen. Have you heard me say that before? Time on task over time. I'm not mad. I'm passionate. Passionate about you. I'm passionate about you getting this. I also believe very, very strongly, I've changed my opinion. Curtis, I'm going to call you back in here. You've only coached 2 or 3 people in your entire career. You probably don't know what the hell you're doing, but I'm going to risk it. All right. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm going to risk it. He's only been doing this forever. He coaches big teams. But Curtis, if I just go about and prospecting and that's it, do I need to schedule, this is a trick question, do I need to schedule time to work on my business? Is that as important as prospecting almost?
100%, sir. You looking for more of an answer?
Yeah, a little more. Come on, add some
It was
color.
a yes or no question. No, look, 100%. And I love where your head's at. I think that's been the topic of conversation. Look, when we, Debbie and I actually went and met with another real estate company yesterday. We were invited into their team meeting. I'm good friends with the guy that runs this real estate company. And that's one of the things that we talked about was, listen, we can all get sideways with all the things just simply because of, the market being like it is and whatnot. And there is actually nothing wrong with the market. It's just a bit different and kind of going back to normal. But anyway, we got to get back to doing the things. And part of that was actually scheduling time, not only to lead gen, but to work on our business, doing the things that are actually going to drive the results that we're looking for. We get caught up with all the other stuff, unfortunately.
I appreciate that. I want to show you my schedule because I think, do as I say, not as I do is actually what I live by, but I think I'm going to start doing it. I'm working a heck of a lot more. This is mine. I'm off on Tuesdays when I do coaching and things like that. I'm pretty sure Karen Ledet is going to be right in there just shortly, right, Karen? Yeah, no pressure there. but I have my prospecting. I know when that's scheduled. I also have my WOB working on my business. And I actually know what I'm working on ahead of time, because if I tried to fill in what I'm going to be doing today, I'd fill in like, I don't know, go check the fridge and, maybe clip my toes, as opposed to what I really need to do, which is video conferencing, systems for that. And then I got a call on Friday with Shannon. I show you that because if it's not on my schedule, it doesn't happen. And on my schedule is what has to happen for me to reach my goals. Does your schedule, you don't have to answer this, does your schedule reflect what your goals are? If it doesn't, maybe that's the WOB working on my business, is getting my schedule to show the right thing. And here's the best part. Pay close attention. Everybody, I got your attention. You're not going to do it very well at first. And that's cool. But at least let's get started. Please, we're running out of time. Hi, Nina. Good to see you. Sorry, I haven't seen Nina. I always see Jacopo on the call. I didn't see Nina. But do you get this? Let's at least get started. Get it down. What does your schedule look like? Dina, I won't call your name out publicly. Does your schedule look like it should? You don't have to answer that, but we're going to talk about it later because I want to know. Are you following what's written down? You're so much smarter than you give yourself credit. If you say what I'm supposed to be doing and you put it down, there's a really good chance you're right. I believe in you. Please believe in yourself. Please make the effort. And here's the part that most people have an issue with, myself included. But if I put it down, I may have to do it. Yeah, that's the idea. I need you to take action. Here's why. Some of you know about this. Some of you don't. I watched what happened in 2005, 6, and 7. And by the way, the market died in 2005. It took 2 years for us to see it crash. That's the gospel. 2005, around October, in my world, my part of the Central Florida, it was like a flock of birds just shifted. It was like that bird, it was just instant. I'm not implying we're going to go through the exact same thing, but I am implying that we are absolutely going to go through something that is going to be changing of careers. Some of us will have a challenge with this. I don't want it to be you. You're already here and invested. Let me be valid enough to offer some influence. I need you to get it on your schedule. Even if you don't follow it, at least every day look at it and go, I should be prospecting, but I don't want to today. Today I'm going shopping. Okay, do that. You're a grown-up. You can do what you want to do. But tomorrow morning, I want you to wake up and go, I should be prospecting, because there's a really good chance you will. And if we can get you working on that job, if we can get you doing the stuff you don't want to do, but you got to do. Curtis, I told you today, 5 of them, 5 YouTube videos have come out for me by the end of this month.
Yes, you did.
That's 5 days. So everybody else knows too. I got 5 of them coming out. Let's see if I actually do what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay. And 5 shorts too. I forgot to mention that. Although I'm iffy on the shorts, I may take that off. And then I've got my schedule for the next couple of weeks. And Curtis knows this because I talked to him. I said, this is what I'm accountable to. He goes, do it. Shut up and do the work, George. You can do this. And I promise you the success will come from putting in the effort. I guarantee it. Holly, you have your hand up, my friend. Can I call on you if you're able to talk?
Yes. Just a quick question. When do you, okay, so you have like what, weekly or let's say monthly WOB, W-O-B. When you, let's say you pre-plan that out for the year.
No, you can't, because it changes so much, Holly. It's a great question, but it's usually a week ahead of time.
Okay, so you're plugging in, let's say you have that standing meeting, okay, with yourself.
Yep.
When is it, you're saying you, the week prior, prep for your next week and plug in the categories that you want?
Okay. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. This is my calendar that I use. And this is I use a thing called Things, where I can talk into my phone. It's basically a part of my phone. I just talk into it and it tells me what I need to do. And then all of this, as well as some other stuff that I have, like my WOB list, which is here, things I have to work on. Whatever you use for your self-organization is all you really need. I happen to use my calendar and my personal notes that I keep on an app called Things. And don't buy it if you don't want to. It's $5. You're cheaper going with anything else. Just any to-do app is fine. And then I know things I have to do during the course of the day. All of you think about this. I want to challenge everybody here to have an idea to record something instantly, where you can just, because this is by everybody's hip, grab your phone and go, boom, I got a great idea. Epiphanies come when you least expect them. Mine tend to come in church when I do not have my phone, and I'm pretty sure it's God testing me. Turns out I fail when it comes to memory, but have something to record it, Hallie. And then I plan it out on Friday of the following week, on Saturday of the following week. Here's why. And by the way, if you're planning it out, plan out the following Monday too. Y'all see these shorts that I'm putting out there every morning? We'll run a short. I shoot the shorts Tuesday through Monday. And here's why. Because I try and shoot them on Friday for the following week and then the next Monday, but I sometimes forget, but Monday gives me an extra day. Same with planning it out. I don't want you to have an empty day. The habit is what we're reinforcing. If you know what you're going to work on, chances are you're not going to finish it on a regular basis. And that's why you can't go too far out, because it's probably going to have to show back up again. But at least working on it gives it an opportunity to be completed and made better. So Holly, I'll spin it to you. And let you finish up. And then if you have anything else on that, did I add to it enough, or is that all right?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. My pleasure. As far as that's concerned, listen, you're not going to get through everything that's on your list. I promise you, you're not. It's impossible which to do so. However, by making progress on it, you're going to move it forward. And when you're in your calendar, you can put notes, descriptions of whatever that event is. This is a standing event for me called WOB, and it's every day from 11 to 12. You know what can't go in there, which is really cool? Doctor's appointments. You know what can't go in there that really sucks? Golf. Claire, I see you. I love your hat, by the way, Miss Claire. Thank you for an amazing job on last Thursday. Holy cow. You and the whole team, Dina as well. I didn't want to exclude you. All of y'all, thank you for putting on a great event. The effort you guys put in was just fantastic. Claire, table's yours.
So I'm going to call out Coach Curtis because he taught me something throughout the years. And this was one thing that in my mind as a coaching moment when I was so involved back in the day with Bold, which is really kind of interesting because I'm a 9-time graduate. Anyway, for those that were with Keller Williams, you'll understand. I had to take Bold because I wanted to master my craft. The one thing that Curtis helped me master was the fact of what I don't need to do. I was so focused on this huge list of what I had to do. I was actually able to accumulate of things I can't do during certain times of the day because they were distractions. So a high D personality, I would be like squirrel, squirrel, shiny object, squirrel. I was given the permission to make a list of what not to do during certain times of the day, which totally changed the business.
Thank you, Claire, very, very much for sharing that. I appreciate it. And I apologize. I was actually focusing on something else. So if I need to rebut, because I like it when you lead classes anyway, you're awesome. So I wasn't sure I didn't need to be involved. Thank you for sharing that with everybody, though. I appreciate it. And now I'm completely lost and quite honestly, a little
that's
embarrassed.
okay, George. Can I just tell
Yeah,
Claire?
please.
Claire
Okay.
give
I'm going to
me
ignore
1
you for a
second.
minute too and finish this up. So sorry.
That's all right. We'll reel you back in, George. Get with it. So thank you, Claire. And you guys, I'm reading this book and I'm not suggesting you go buy it, but the first paragraph, I love it. It's exactly what George is talking about. It's so funny because yes, George, I talked to you yesterday. The only thing I spoke to you about was the videos that you were putting out and how you were going to do it. And I asked you for somebody's name and phone number. But anyway, I just want to share this one little part. It's like just one little paragraph and it's right on point. And here's what it says: protect the golden hours. It says, during volatile times, resources and buyers are scarce. There's less of everything, with only 2 exceptions, misery and time. Bad news is there will be plenty of misery to go around. The good news is that no matter how miserable you might be, you still got 24 hours in the day. Do something about it. In a crisis, you must protect your prime selling time at all costs. Time is the most precious resource. You can't make more, add more, or find more. Do not allow it to be diluted by non-sales activities. Investing time poorly will compound your misery. Time is the great equalizer. Every person on earth has exactly 24 hours a day, no more. The choices you make about how you invest your time directly will correlate to the sales outcome you deliver. That's all I got.
There you go. I've got a mic over there. I almost want to go get it, but Claire just did it. Did y'all see when he started talking about that? Both Claire and I in stereo, our heads are going back and forth. We're side by side. So it's like we're bobbing heads together. Thank you very much. And there we go. And we got Liz on there too. And obviously Coach Curtis led that. Folks, it's all about you. Now, I'm going to turn this over to Tiffany. Before I do, I'm going to say one thing, and y'all want to hear this. This is really what database is all about. Go out and tell somebody you love them, tell them they're important, that they matter, and actually be interested in their well-being. That's the principles behind database, and database is where your business will get to. If it's not yet, it is the #1 leads generation source for 90% of the real estate agents that are in business over 3 years and successful. So just start treating people like you care, meaning actually please do care. Talk to other agents. How can we help them by bringing them in and allowing them to experience what we provide to everybody? How can we help our clients by great information, partnering them with our right lending partner to really support them? But more importantly, how can you help foster deeper relationships with the people you're already in relationship with by letting them know that they're important and listening to them? Y'all are awesome. You're here. That is 99% of the challenge. Right now, you just got to get out and do some work. I love you. I think you're amazing. Thank you for being in my world. You make it better. I'll turn it over to Miss Tiffany. Y'all have an amazing day. We'll see you tomorrow because the Godfather's on. God bless you guys.